sand. Dominic Reed watched the sunrise from his home office, the golden light spilling across the mahogany desk where he'd spent another sleepless night. At 42, Dom had built everything from nothing. The sprawling estate in Vermont's countryside, the security company that protected half the state's elite, and the family he'd cherished above all else. The security feeds from around the property displayed on the wall-mounted screens. His gaze lingered on the garden where Vanessa was teaching Liam to plant tomatoes while little Addie chased butterflies. 7 years of marriage, 2 beautiful children, and a life many would kill for. Yet something had changed in the past months, subtle shifts in Vanessa's behavior that his security-trained mind couldn't ignore. Dom's phone buzzed. It was Clayton, his second-in-command at Reed Security Solutions. "Boss, that personal matter you asked me to look into. We should talk." Dom's jaw tightened. "Give me an hour." He closed the feed showing his family and stood, straightening his tie. Before founding his company, Dom had spent 12 years in military intelligence, followed by 5 in private security consulting in conflict zones. Those years had hardened him, taught him to trust his instincts, and those instincts were screaming now. When Dom met Clayton at their secure office downtown, the expression on his friend's face confirmed his worst suspicions. "It's been going on for about 4 months, Clayton said, sliding a folder across the desk. "The guy's name is Brendan Willis. Works as a fitness instructor at her gym. They meet 3 times a week when she's supposedly at her painting class." Dom flipped through the surveillance photos, each one a knife to his chest. "Tell me about him." 32, divorced, former semi-professional boxer who washed out after some controversy. Has a reputation for targeting wealthy married women. Your wife isn't his first. Dom closed the folder, his expression unreadable. "Have you looked into his finances?" Clayton nodded. "He's drowning in debt. Alimony, gambling problems. He's been accessing her credit cards." "And Vanessa hasn't noticed?" "She knows. She's been covering for him, moving money between accounts to hide it from you." Dom stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city he'd helped secure. "Have they discussed me? The children? Clayton hesitated. "She's told him she wants out. Says you're cold, calculating. That you're never truly present with the kids. That you're not fit to be their father." Something shifted in Dom's eyes then, a coldness that Clayton hadn't seen since their days tracking hostiles overseas. "Continue the surveillance. I want to know everything, where they meet, what they discuss, every penny that changes hands. But pull back on physical surveillance. I don't want them spooked." "What are you planning, Dom?" Dom turned, his face a mask of calm that belied the storm beneath. "I'm not planning anything yet. I'm gathering intelligence. That's what I was trained to do." As Dom drove home, memories flashed through his mind. Meeting Vanessa at a charity gala when she was fresh out of art school, her laughter as they danced under the stars on their first date. Her face, flushed with joy, when he'd proposed at the summit of Mount Mansfield after a grueling hike that tested both their limits. She'd sworn then that she loved his determination, his strength. Now she called those same qualities cold. Calculating. Dom pulled into the driveway of their home just as Vanessa's car left. He watched her drive away, knowing where she was really going. Inside, the nanny, Marielle, was preparing lunch for the children. "Daddy!" Addie squealed, running into his arms. At 5, she was all bouncing curls and endless energy. Liam approached more cautiously. At 7, he was observant, sensitive, too much like Dom himself. "Where'd Mom go?" Dom asked casually, lifting Addie into his arms. "She said she has her painting class," Liam answered, eyes sharp. "But she forgot her paints again." Dom met his son's gaze. In that moment, he realized Liam knew more than a child should. The boy had inherited Dom's perceptiveness, his attention to detail. "Why don't we have lunch together? Then I'll help with your science project." As they built Liam's model solar system, Dom made a decision. He wouldn't confront Vanessa yet. This required strategy, patience. He had built his life on anticipating threats and neutralizing them decisively. And a threat had just entered his home. Chapter 2. The Unraveling. For 2 weeks, Dom played the oblivious husband. He attended business dinners alone while Vanessa claimed headaches. He pretended not to notice the text notifications she rushed to check. He feigned sleep when she slipped into bed smelling of unfamiliar cologne, scrubbed skin, and lies. Meanwhile, the intelligence grew. Clayton had placed surveillance on Brendan Willis and discovered a pattern of predatory behavior spanning years. The man targeted affluent women, isolated them from their families, then bled them dry financially before moving to the next victim. He has a record, Clayton reported, handing Dom another file. Sealed juvenile cases, but I have contacts. 2 domestic violence complaints from his ex-wife, both dropped. And something interesting, he has a severe gambling problem. Owes money to some dangerous people. Dom scanned the file. Who? The Callahan family. Irish mob connections in South Boston. Not people you want chasing you for 50 grand. Dom closed the file. I want you to make a call to their representative. Don't mention Willis. Just say you have a mutual interest to discuss. I'll take the meeting. Dom. Clayton's voice dropped. These aren't people to mess with. Neither am I. That night, Dom found Liam sitting on the back porch, staring at the stars they'd mapped together countless times. Couldn't sleep? Dom asked, settling beside him. Liam shook his head. I heard Mom on the phone. She was talking about us. Dom kept his expression neutral. What did she say? That we might be going away for a while. That you might be angry soon. Liam turned to his father. I searching. Are you and Mom getting divorced? The directness caught Dom off guard. He'd never lied to his children. I don't know yet, buddy. But if things change, I want you to remember something. Nothing that happens between Mom and me changes how much I love you and Addie. Would we still live with you? Dom wrapped an arm around his son's shoulders. I'll always be your father. No one can change that. Later that night, Dom accessed Vanessa's emails through the home security system he'd installed, a system she'd never fully understood. What he found confirmed his suspicions. She and Brendan had been planning their exit strategy for weeks. We'll file for full custody. Your husband is cold. Dom Reed, security expert. He's controlling. We'll say you're afraid of him. Once we have the kids, we'll liquidate what we can. I know a guy who can help with the transfers. The house alone is worth millions. Dom's hands tightened on the desk edge until his knuckles were white. They weren't just planning to leave. They were planning to take everything, including his children, including Liam and Addie. The next morning, Dom left for what Vanessa thought was a business trip to Philadelphia. Instead, he met with Sean Callahan in a private room at a South Boston establishment that hadn't changed its decor since the 1970s. Mr. Reed, Callahan nodded, his accent thick despite decades in America. My associates tell me you're a man with resources and discretion. And they tell me Brendan Willis owes you a considerable sum. Callahan's eyes narrowed. You know the man? He's sleeping with my wife, planning to take my children and liquidate my assets. A slow smile spread across Callahan's weathered face. And you're here because? Because I'm willing to clear his debt, with interest, in exchange for certain considerations. I'm listening. Dom laid out his terms. He wasn't buying violence. He was buying time and leverage. Callahan studied him with newfound respect. You military boys never do things halfway, he mused. Consider it done. Willis gets a grace period on what he owes, but he'll know the clock is ticking. And when you give the word, he'll learn what real pressure feels like. Dom finished. When Dom returned home the following evening, he found Vanessa waiting in the kitchen, her expression grave. We need to talk, she said. About what? Dom set down his briefcase, already knowing what was coming. About us. This isn't working anymore, Dom. You're never here, emotionally, even when you're physically present. I've been unhappy for a long time. Dom studied the woman he'd once loved beyond reason. And Brendan makes you happy. The color drained from her face. How did you? I know everything, Vanessa. The affair, the money you've been funneling to him, the plans to take my children. She recovered quickly, her shock morphing to anger. You've been spying on me? This is exactly why I can't stay. You're controlling, paranoid. Is it paranoia when I'm right? Dom's voice remained calm. 4 months, Vanessa. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays when I have my meetings with overseas clients. The Lakeside Motel, room 212. The $22,000 you've transferred to cover his gambling debts. You're not fit to be a father, she hissed. The children need warmth, not a calculator in human form. I'm filing for divorce, and I'll seek full custody. Dom stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You have no idea what you're starting, but you're about to find out. The next morning, Vanessa was gone, along with the children. She'd left a note saying they were staying with her sister in Burlington. By afternoon, Dom had been served with divorce papers and a temporary restraining order based on claims of emotional abuse and controlling behavior. The war had begun. Chapter 3, battle lines. The initial hearing was set for 2 weeks later. Dom's attorney, Russell Montgomery, reviewed Vanessa's filing with a grim expression. She's claiming a pattern of psychological control, financial abuse, and emotional neglect of the children, Russell explained. She wants the house, primary custody with supervised visitation for you, and 50% of the business. Dom's expression remained neutral. What's our position? We counter with evidence of her infidelity, financial impropriety, and parental alienation. But Dom, Russell leaned forward. Family court judges tend to favor mothers unless there's clear evidence of wrongdoing. Her narrative of you as the cold, controlling husband might be persuasive. Then we change the narrative, Dom replied. I want a psychological evaluation for both of us. And I want her financial records subpoenaed. All of them, including the accounts she thinks I don't know about. Russell made notes. What about the children? The court will appoint a guardian ad litem to represent their interests. Request Judith Landry, Dom said immediately. She's thorough, incorruptible, and puts children's welfare above everything else. Russell raised an eyebrow. You've done your research. That's who I am, Russell. I prepare. I analyze. Vanessa is trying to use that against me, portraying it as coldness. We're going to show it for what it really is, protection. Over the next 2 weeks, Dom hardly slept. By day, he compiled evidence. Financial records showing Vanessa's transfers to Brendan. Text messages he'd recovered showing their plans to liquidate his assets. Recordings of her telling the children that Daddy doesn't want to be with us anymore. By night, he set the pieces of a larger plan in motion. He contacted former clients, called in favors from his military days, and liquidated investments only he knew about, moving the funds to secure offshore accounts. Vanessa had allowed him one supervised visit with the children at her sister's home. Addie had clung to him, confused by the sudden changes. Liam had been quieter, watchful, slipping Dom a folded paper when Vanessa wasn't looking. I know Mom is lying. The note read in careful 7-year-old handwriting. I heard her talking to that man. She said they would get all your money. I'm scared, Dad. Dom had carefully folded the note and slipped it into his pocket, heartbreaking for his son's lost innocence. Time's up, Vanessa had announced, returning to the room after another secretive phone call. Already, Addie had protested. But Daddy was going to tell us about the stars. Daddy has to go, Vanessa insisted, shooting Dom a warning look. He's very busy with work. Dom had kissed his daughter's forehead. I'm never too busy for you, he whispered. Remember that. To Liam, he'd given a meaningful look. Keep watching the stars, buddy. I'll see you soon. The day before the hearing, Brendan Willis received an unexpected visitor at his apartment, a representative from the Callahan family, reminding him of his outstanding debt and the temporary reprieve he'd been granted. The message was clear. His grace period was tied directly to the outcome of tomorrow's hearing. That same evening, Vanessa received a text from an unknown number. You picked the wrong man to betray. Tomorrow, you'll learn what that means. When she frantically called Brendan, he was too shaken by his own visitor to offer comfort. Dawn broke on the day of the hearing with Dom already awake, reviewing his strategy one final time. Today wasn't about winning or losing. It was about setting the stage for what would follow. About showing Vanessa and Brendan exactly who they had underestimated. As he straightened his tie and prepared to leave, Dom's phone chimed with a message from Clayton. Package secured. Waiting for your signal. Dom smiled for the first time in weeks. Game on, he whispered to his reflection. Chapter 4, Courtroom Maneuvers. The family courthouse buzzed with the low murmur of broken relationships and contested futures. Dom sat with Russell at the respondents' table, his posture relaxed despite the stakes. Across the aisle, Vanessa whispered urgently with her attorney, a sharp-featured woman named Patricia Donovan known for her aggressive tactics in high-asset divorces. Brendan was conspicuously absent, though Dom had confirmed through Clayton that the man was watching Addie while Vanessa was in court. Another piece of information he'd use when the time was right. Judge Harold Maxwell entered, a stern-faced man in his 60s with a reputation for being unpredictable but fair. Maxwell reviewed the paperwork before him, frowning slightly. We're here for Reed versus Reed, preliminary hearing regarding temporary custody and support pending divorce proceedings, he announced. Ms. Donovan, you're representing the petitioner? Patricia rose. Yes, Your Honor. We're seeking temporary full custody for Mrs. Reed with supervised visitation for the respondent, temporary occupation of the marital home, and interim support. On what grounds? Mrs. Reed has been the children's primary caregiver. Mr. Reed's work keeps him frequently absent, and his controlling behavior has created an emotionally unhealthy environment. We've submitted affidavits regarding his obsessive monitoring of the family and his emotional detachment. Judge Maxwell turned to Russell. Mr. Montgomery? Russell stood. Your Honor, we contest these characterizations completely. Mr. Reed has been an involved, loving father whose security measures were appropriate given his profession. We counterpetition for shared custody and request forensic financial examination due to Mrs. Reed's misappropriation of marital assets. Maxwell studied both attorneys, then looked directly at Dom. Mr. Reed, you run a security company, correct? Yes, Your Honor. Reed Security Solutions. We provide protective services for high-value targets and facilities throughout New England. And these security measures in your home? Dom met the judge's gaze evenly. Standard protocols, Your Honor. Camera systems in common areas, secure entry points, monitoring of unusual financial transactions, all with Mrs. Reed's knowledge and prior consent, documented in these agreements. He nodded to Russell, who produced the signed papers. Maxwell examined them, then turned to Vanessa. Mrs. Reed, you signed these consent forms? Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. Yes, but I didn't understand what I was signing. Dom, Mr. Reed, has always controlled everything. Yet you manage the household accounts, Dom interjected calmly, including transfers to private accounts established after your relationship with Brendan Willis began. The courtroom stilled. Vanessa's face flushed crimson. Your Honor, Patricia Donovan cut in. These allegations are irrelevant to custody determinations. On the contrary, Russell countered, they speak directly to Mrs. Reed's judgment and priorities. We have records showing she diverted over $22,000 of marital assets to Mr. Willis in the past 3 months alone. Judge Maxwell frowned. Is this true, Mrs. Reed? Before Vanessa could respond, the courtroom doors opened, and Judith Landry, the guardian ad litem, entered with Liam and Addie. The children's eyes widened at the formal setting. Your Honor, Judith announced, I've brought the Reed children as requested. They've asked to address the court. This was unexpected. Dom had requested Judith's appointment, but hadn't anticipated her bringing the children to this preliminary hearing. He caught Liam's eye, seeing determination in his young face. Maxwell nodded. While unusual at this stage, I believe hearing directly from the children might be illuminating. Mrs. Landry, have you completed your initial assessment? I have, Your Honor, Judith replied. And I believe what the children have to say is relevant to these proceedings. Vanessa rose halfway from her seat. Your Honor, my children shouldn't be subjected to this. They're too young to understand. I'm not too young, Liam interrupted, his voice clear despite his obvious nervousness. I understand what's happening. Maxwell studied the boy. Very well. Liam, would you like to speak with me privately in chambers? Liam shook his head. No, sir. I want everyone to hear. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. I wrote this for you. The judge nodded to the bailiff, who took the letter and delivered it to the bench. As Maxwell read, his expression grew increasingly grave. Mrs. Reed, he said finally, this letter contains some concerning allegations. Your son claims he overheard you discussing plans to, and I quote, take everything from Dad with a man named Brendan. He further states that you told this man that you would make Dad look crazy so you could get full custody. Vanessa paled. He's misunderstood. He's just a child. I also have recordings, Dom interjected quietly, of Mrs. Reed coaching the children to say they're afraid of me. Judge Maxwell's eyebrows rose. Recordings? Russell produced a flash drive. Security footage from the Reed home, Your Honor. Legally obtained through systems Mrs. Reed consented to in writing. Maxwell took the drive, then addressed the attorneys. We'll take a 20-minute recess while I review this evidence. Mrs. Landry, please take the children to the waiting area. As they filed out, Liam looked back at Dom, who gave his son a reassuring nod. Whatever happened next, he was proud of the boy's courage. In the hallway during recess, Vanessa cornered Dom away from the attorneys. You planned this, she hissed. You turned my own son against me. Dom regarded her calmly. I didn't have to turn anyone against you, Vanessa. You did that yourself when you plotted to take my children and destroy me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. But this is just the beginning. By the time I'm done, you and Brendan will understand exactly what it means to betray me. Fear flickered in her eyes. What are you going to do? Dom smiled, the expression not reaching his eyes. I'm going to watch you destroy yourselves. When court reconvened, Judge Maxwell's expression was stern. Having reviewed the initial evidence, I'm deeply troubled by what appears to be calculated manipulation by Mrs. Reed. The temporary orders will be as follows. The children will remain in the marital home, with Mr. Reed maintaining primary residence there. Mrs. Reed may have supervised visitation 3 times weekly. Mrs. Reed will vacate the marital residence within 48 hours. Vanessa gasped audibly while Patricia Donovan began furiously scribbling notes for an appeal. Furthermore, Maxwell continued, all marital assets are frozen pending forensic accounting. The final custody hearing is set for 30 days from today, during which time Mrs. Landry will complete her assessment. He fixed Vanessa with a stern gaze. Mrs. Reed, this court takes attempted parental alienation very seriously. I strongly suggest you reflect on your actions before the final hearing. As they left the courthouse, Dom pulled Russell aside. I need you to file additional motions. I want Brendan Willis deposed, and I want his financial records subpoenaed. Russell nodded. We have grounds now, especially with the judge seeing evidence of financial impropriety. What's your endgame here, Dom? Dom watched Vanessa hurrying to her car, phone already pressed to her ear. Justice, Russell. Nothing more, nothing less. That night, Dom brought the children home. Addie fell asleep quickly, exhausted by the day's emotions. Liam lingered in the doorway of Dom's office. Did I do the right thing, Dad? He asked quietly. Dom set aside his work and motioned his son over. You told the truth, Liam. That's always the right thing. Mom's really mad at me. She's not mad at you. She's mad at the situation. Dom chose his words carefully. Adults sometimes make mistakes. Big mistakes. Your mom made some, and now she has to face the consequences. Liam considered this. Are you going to make her sorry? Dom studied his son's face, seeing understanding beyond his years. I'm going to make sure justice happens. That's different from revenge. But as Liam finally went to bed, Dom returned to his computer, continuing to unravel the web of financial transactions between Vanessa and Brendan. Justice and revenge weren't always different things. Sometimes, they were exactly the same. Chapter 5, Pressure Points. The next 2 weeks unfolded according to Dom's meticulous plan. While Vanessa stayed with her increasingly reluctant sister, Dom established a new routine with the children. Mornings meant breakfast together before school. Evenings were for homework and activities. He took leave from active field operations at RSS, working from home to ensure his presence was constant and meaningful. Meanwhile, the pressure on Brendan Willis intensified. The Callahan family's representative made it clear that his grace period was contingent on his separation from Vanessa, an ultimatum that sent him into a panic. When he tried to access the funds Vanessa had previously provided, he discovered the accounts frozen by court order. Depositions began, creating additional stress. Russell Montgomery questioned Brendan for 6 grueling hours about his relationship with Vanessa, his financial situation, and his future plans for her children. Would you say you've encouraged Mrs. Reed to seek full custody? Russell asked. Brendan shifted uncomfortably. We discussed what would be best for the kids. And did those discussions include how Mrs. Reed might leverage custody to secure a more favorable financial settlement? I don't recall specific. Perhaps this will refresh your memory, Russell interrupted, producing printouts of text messages. These are communications between you and Mrs. Reed from February 12th. You wrote, and I quote, once you have the kids, he'll give you anything to see them. Push for the business. That's where the real money is. Brendan paled, eyes darting to his attorney. I was just trying to help Vanessa get what she deserves. What she deserves, Russell repeated. And what about what the children deserve? A stable home? Their father's presence? Objection, Brendan's attorney interjected. Argumentative. Russell smiled thinly. Withdrawn. Mr. Willis, are you aware that interfering with parental relationships can be considered in custody determinations as harmful to children's best interests? The questions continued, each more pointed than the last. By the end, Brendan was visibly shaken, his confident facade crumbling. Vanessa's deposition was equally devastating. When confronted with financial records showing systematic transfers to Brendan, she struggled to explain. He needed help, she insisted. He was going through a difficult time. A difficult time that coincided precisely with the beginning of your affair, Russell noted. Mrs. Reed, did you ever consider that Mr. Willis might be interested in your financial resources rather than a genuine relationship? That's absurd, Vanessa snapped. Brendan loves me. Does he love your children as well? Of course. Then perhaps you can explain this text from Mr. Willis, dated March 3rd. The kids are a means to an end. Once we have control, we can send them to boarding school. Vanessa's face crumpled. He didn't mean that. He was frustrated that day. Outside the legal proceedings, Dom executed the next phase of his plan. Clayton had compiled a dossier on Brendan's past relationships, a pattern of targeting wealthy women, draining their resources, then discarding them. Dom arranged for this information to be delivered anonymously to Vanessa's sister, who had been providing both emotional and financial support. The sister, Devon Palmer, requested a meeting with Dom at a quiet cafe downtown. I didn't want to believe it, she admitted, sliding the dossier back across the table. Vanessa has always been impulsive. But this? She shook her head. Has she seen this? Not yet, Dom replied, sipping his coffee. I thought you should see it first. Devon studied him. Why? We've never been close. You must know I've been helping her. Because you love your sister, Devon. And because, unlike Brendan, you actually care about Liam and Addie. She couldn't argue with that. What happens when Vanessa sees this? That depends on her. She has choices to make. Devon gathered her purse, preparing to leave. For what it's worth, I don't think she ever deserved you, Dom. You're calculating, yes, but never cold. Not with those kids. After she left, Dom made a call to Clayton. It's time for phase 2. Release the financial information to the Callahans. That evening, as Dom helped Liam with his science homework, his phone rang with Vanessa's ringtone. Can I take this in my office? He asked Liam. Keep working on those planets. I'll be right back. In his office, Dom answered calmly. Vanessa, you bastard, she hissed. You sent that file to Devon? She's refusing to help me anymore. She's saying I need to rethink my choices. Is that what this call is about? Your sister cutting you off financially. It's about you systematically destroying my support system. First the court, now Devon. Who's next? Dom leaned back in his chair. I haven't destroyed anything, Vanessa. I've simply exposed the truth. If the truth is destructive to your plans, that's not my problem. I want to see my children, she demanded. The supervised visits aren't enough. The court order is clear, Dom replied evenly. 3 supervised visits per week. I've accommodated every scheduled visit. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me suffer. Dom considered the question. No, Vanessa. I don't enjoy seeing the mother of my children self-destruct. But I won't pretend I'm not satisfied seeing justice done. After hanging up, Dom returned to help Liam finish his model solar system. As they worked, Dom noticed his son's pensive expression. What's on your mind, buddy? Liam carefully positioned Neptune in its orbit. Is Mom going to be okay? Aunt Devon called, and she sounded worried. Dom chose his words carefully. Your mom has some things to figure out. But she loves you and Addie very much. Not as much as she loves Brendan, Liam muttered. Dom set down the glue. Liam, adults are complicated. Sometimes they make bad choices that hurt people they love. That doesn't mean they don't love you. But you wouldn't do that, Liam insisted. You wouldn't choose someone else over us. Dom pulled his son into a hug. Never. Not for anything in this world. Later that night, after both children were asleep, Dom received another call. This one from a burner phone he kept for special purposes. It's done, said a gruff voice with a Boston accent. Willis got the message. He's trying to scrape together the cash, but he's running scared. Keep the pressure on, Dom instructed. But nothing physical yet. I want him desperate, not injured. The final custody hearing was approaching, and everything was falling into place. The guardian ad litem's preliminary report favored Dom, citing Vanessa's concerning judgment and apparent prioritization of her relationship over the children's stability. Yet Dom knew better than to become complacent. Desperation made people unpredictable, and both Vanessa and Brendan were becoming increasingly desperate. He doubled the security around the house and the children's school. He reviewed contingency plans with Clayton, and he prepared for the possibility that his opponents might make one last, reckless attempt to regain control. What he didn't anticipate was what form that attempt would take. Chapter 6. The Letter. The morning of the final custody hearing dawned clear and cold. Dom helped Addie pick out her clothes. The blue dress, Daddy, It's my serious dress, and checked Liam's backpack for the letter the boy had insisted on bringing. Are you sure you want to read this in court? Dom asked. You don't have to. Liam nodded solemnly. I wrote it myself. Ms. Landry helped me with some spelling, but they're my words. Dom respected his son's determination. I'm proud of you. Whatever happens today, remember that. Vanessa arrived at the courthouse with Brendan, a tactical error that Dom had anticipated but hadn't expected her to actually make. Russell raised an eyebrow at their united front. She's doubling down, he murmured to Dom. Bold strategy. Desperate strategy, Dom corrected. She's lost Devon's support. She needs him now. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Judge Maxwell entered, reviewing the updated files before him. Before we begin, he announced, I want to clarify that this hearing will determine final custody arrangements. The guardian ad litem has submitted her report, and I've reviewed all depositions and financial disclosures. He fixed both parties with a stern gaze. I must say, Mrs. Reed, that the evidence of financial impropriety and attempted parental alienation is deeply troubling. Patricia Donovan rose quickly. Your Honor, my client acknowledges some errors in judgment, but maintains that Mr. Reed's controlling nature contributed significantly to the breakdown of the marriage. We have witnesses prepared to testify regarding Mr. Reed's obsessive tendencies and emotional detachment. Witnesses? Russell challenged. Or friends of Mrs. Reed with no first-hand knowledge of the Reed family dynamics? Judge Maxwell raised a hand. We'll hear testimony from all relevant witnesses. But first, Mrs. Landry, please present your findings. Judith Landry approached the bench. Your Honor, after extensive interviews with both parents and the children, I find that Mr. Reed provides the more stable environment. Mrs. Reed has demonstrated questionable judgment, particularly in involving Mr. Willis in custody discussions before any legal determinations were made. The children, especially Liam, have expressed anxiety about their mother's relationship and her apparent prioritization of Mr. Willis over their needs. Vanessa made a small, distressed sound. Brendan placed a hand on her arm, which she shook off, another telling gesture that Dom noted. Furthermore, Judith continued, Mr. Reed has maintained the children's routines despite the upheaval, ensuring their academic and emotional needs are met. While Mrs. Reed clearly loves her children, her recent decisions suggest she currently lacks the judgment to prioritize their best interests. Judge Maxwell nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Landry. We'll now hear from Your Honor, Judith interrupted. Liam Reed has asked to address the court. He's prepared a statement. Maxwell considered this. While unusual, given the child's age, I'll allow it. He turned to the attorneys. Any objections? Patricia Donovan hesitated, glancing at Vanessa's anxious face. No objection, Your Honor. Liam approached the bench, clutching his letter in slightly trembling hands. At 7, he seemed simultaneously too young and too old for the burden he carried. Liam, Judge Maxwell said gently, you can read your letter whenever you're ready. The courtroom fell silent as Liam unfolded his paper. Dear Judge Maxwell, he began, his voice small but clear. My name is Liam Reed. I am 7 years old and in second grade. I am writing to tell you what I want to happen with my family. He paused, gathering courage before continuing. My mom says my dad is not fit to be a father because he is cold and calculating. But that's not true. Dad helps me with homework every night. He knows I'm afraid of thunderstorms, so he built me a special weather app that shows when storms are coming so I can be prepared. When I had nightmares, he taught me to breathe like a soldier and face my fears. Mom says Dad doesn't care about feelings. But when our dog Max died, Dad cried with me under the stars and told me all living things are made of stardust. So Max is still with us in the universe. I know Dad seems quiet sometimes, but that's because he's listening. He listens to everything I say, even when I talk about Minecraft for hours. Mom is always on her phone when I talk. I heard Mom telling Brendan that they would take all Dad's money and send me and Addie to boarding school. Brendan said we were annoying brats when he thought I couldn't hear. He makes Mom different. She forgets to come to my science fair and my soccer games when she's with him. I want to live with my dad. I want Addie to live with my dad. I don't want to go to boarding school. I want my family back the way it was. But if I can't have that, I want to stay with the parent who puts me first. Thank you for listening to me. Ms. Landry said judges are very smart and fair. I hope you will be fair to my dad. Liam folded the letter and looked up at the judge. That's all I wrote, sir. The courtroom remained utterly silent. Vanessa had tears streaming down her face. Brendan stared at the floor. Dom felt a complex mixture of pride in his son's courage and sorrow that he'd been forced into this position. Judge Maxwell cleared his throat, visibly moved. "Thank you, Liam. That was very well written and very brave." As Liam returned to his seat beside Dom, the judge turned to Vanessa. "Mrs. Reed, do you wish to respond to your son's statement?" Vanessa stood shakily. "Your Honor, I never meant." She looked at Brendan, then back at Liam. Something shifted in her expression, realization dawning painfully. "I've made terrible mistakes," she whispered. "I never wanted to hurt my children." Judge Maxwell nodded gravely. "Sometimes our actions have consequences we don't foresee. Mrs. Reed, do you wish to revise your custody petition in light of today's testimony?" Patricia Donovan leaned in to whisper urgently to Vanessa, but she shook her head. "No, Your Honor," Vanessa said quietly. I believe the children should remain with their father. I request liberal but supervised visitation until I can." She swallowed hard. "Until I can demonstrate better judgment." A murmur ran through the courtroom. Dom kept his expression neutral, but inwardly, he was surprised. This concession wasn't part of his anticipated scenarios. Brendan shot to his feet. "Vanessa, what are you doing? We had a plan." "Mr. Willis," Judge Maxwell interrupted sharply, "you are not a party to these proceedings. Sit down or be removed." Brendan subsided, his face contorted with anger. Dom noted the calculating look he directed at Vanessa. No longer the adoring lover, but a man seeing his meal ticket slipping away. Judge Maxwell announced a brief recess to consider the revised petition, during which Russell turned to Dom. "This is unexpected," he murmured. "A tactical retreat on her part?" Dom watched Vanessa arguing with Brendan in hushed, heated tones across the courtroom. "No," he said slowly. "I think she finally saw him clearly. Liam's letter did what all our evidence couldn't. It forced her to face what she was sacrificing." When court reconvened, Judge Maxwell delivered his ruling. Dom would retain primary physical and legal custody. Vanessa would have supervised visitation 3 times weekly, gradually transitioning to unsupervised if she demonstrated consistent commitment and improved judgment. The marital assets would be divided 65/35 in Dom's favor, with Dom retaining the family home and business. As they filed out of the courtroom, Vanessa approached Dom while Liam and Addie waited with Judith Landry. "I know you orchestrated all of this," she said quietly. "The evidence, the pressure on Brendan, turning my own sister against me. It was masterfully done." Dom met her gaze evenly. "I protected what's mine. Nothing more. Our son wrote that letter on his own, didn't he? Every word. You underestimated him, just like you underestimated me." Vanessa glanced at the children, eyes lingering on Liam's serious face. "I'm going to earn back his trust, Dom. And Addie's. Whatever it takes. That's between you and them," Dom replied. "But Vanessa," he lowered his voice, "if you ever try to take my children from me again, what you've experienced so far will seem like mercy." She studied his face, seeing the implacable resolve there, and nodded slowly. "I understand." As she walked away to say goodbye to the children before they left with Dom, Brendan approached, his expression thunderous. "This isn't over, Reed," he growled. "You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming." Dom smiled, the expression chilling in its calmness. "Actually, Brendan, I know exactly what's coming for you. The Callahans send their regards. Your grace period just expired." The blood drained from Brendan's face as Dom walked away. The first battle was over, and Dom had won decisively. But the war? That was just beginning. Chapter 7. Calculated Responses. 3 weeks after the custody hearing, Dom's new family routine had stabilized. Liam was thriving academically, his anxiety noticeably reduced now that the uncertainty had been resolved. Addie still occasionally asked when Mommy was coming home for real, but she too seemed more settled. Vanessa had maintained her visitation schedule perfectly, arriving punctually for each supervised session. She brought thoughtful gifts for the children, books for Liam, art supplies for Addie, and focused entirely on them during their time together. She never mentioned Brendan. Dom monitored these visits from a distance, noting the genuine effort Vanessa seemed to be making. It was Clayton who finally broached the subject during their weekly security briefing at RSS headquarters. "She's following the script perfectly," Clayton observed. "Are you considering easing the restrictions?" Dom leaned back in his chair, studying the surveillance photos of Vanessa's latest supervised visit. No, she hasn't contacted Willis in over 3 weeks. Our sources say she's cut him off completely. She's a good actress, Dom replied. Always has been. Clayton hesitated. The kids seem to be responding well to the visits. They miss their mother. That's natural. Dom closed the file. What's the update on Willis? Clayton's expression shifted to satisfaction. The Callahans called in their marker. He paid what he could, about 12 grand, but he's still 38 short. They've given him 2 weeks to produce the rest. And he can't access Vanessa's resources anymore, Dom noted. Has he tried contacting her? Multiple times. She's blocked his number, changed her email. He showed up at her sister's place once, but Devin threatened to call the police. Dom nodded. Good. And the other matter? Clayton produced another file. Your suspicions were correct. Willis has approached 3 other potential targets in the past week, all wealthy women, all recently separated or divorced. He's desperate for a new revenue stream. Make sure they receive anonymous warnings about his pattern. Include documentation. Already done. Clayton studied his friend. Dom, where does this end? You've won. You have the kids, the house, the business. Vanessa is complying with everything. Willis is self-destructing. What's your endgame here? Dom stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Justice isn't just about winning, Clayton. It's about consequences. Lasting consequences. Later that evening, as Dom helped Addie with her bath, his secure phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. About Brendan. It's urgent. V. Dom finished Addie's bedtime routine, read her a story, then checked on Liam, who was already engrossed in a book about space exploration. Only then did he reply to Vanessa, Jefferson Park. The boathouse. 9 p.m. He arrived early, scanning the area from his parked car. The park was mostly empty at this hour, a few joggers circling the well-lit paths. The boathouse sat dark and quiet by the small lake. Vanessa arrived at exactly 9, clutching her coat tightly against the evening chill. Dom emerged from the shadows, startling her. Jesus, Dom, she gasped. Do you have to do the whole mysterious operative thing? Old habits, he replied. What's this about? She glanced around nervously. Brendan came to Devin's house again today. He was different, desperate, threatening. He said if I didn't help him with money, he'd tell the court I violated the custody agreement. With what evidence? None, but he said he'd manufacture something. Dom, he mentioned the children. Said he knew their schedules, their routes to school. Dom's expression hardened. He threatened our children? Not explicitly, but the implication was clear. Vanessa hugged herself tightly. I'm scared, Dom. Not for me, for Liam and Addie. Dom studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or deceit. Finding none, he nodded. I'll handle it. What does that mean? It means you don't need to worry about Brendan Willis anymore. Vanessa stepped closer. Dom, don't do anything extreme. Whatever you're planning. I'm planning to protect my family, he interrupted. Something I've always done. He's dangerous when cornered. The things he said today, I never saw that side of him before. Dom almost laughed at the irony. You never saw a lot of things, Vanessa. That was your choice. She flinched at the coldness in his tone. I deserve that. But Dom, please be careful. Whatever happens to Brendan, the children still need you. He nodded once. Go home, Vanessa. Don't contact Willis again. If he approaches you, call me immediately, not the police. As she turned to leave, she paused. For what it's worth, Dom, I'm sorry. Not just for the affair, but for trying to take the children. For saying you weren't fit to be a father. She swallowed hard. You're a better parent than I ever was. Dom watched her walk away, her words echoing in his mind. Once, they might have meant something. Now, they were just empty sounds, too late to change anything. Back in his car, Dom made a call to a number few people possessed. Callahan, answered the gruff voice. It's Reed. Willis has escalated. He's making threats against my family. A pause. That wasn't part of our arrangement. Consider it a breach of contract on his end. Another pause. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm informing you that if something happens to Willis, I won't be asking questions. Understood. The line went dead. Dom drove home, checking and double-checking that he wasn't followed. He increased the security protocols around the house, activated additional monitoring of the children's school, and placed Clayton on high alert. 2 days later, Brendan Willis was found in his apartment, severely beaten. The official police report cited a home invasion likely related to gambling debts. Willis was hospitalized with multiple fractures, but refused to cooperate with investigators. When the news reached Dom, he was helping Liam with a constellation map for school. He excused himself to take Clayton's call, listening impassively to the details. He'll live, Clayton concluded, but he won't be threatening anyone for a while. Keep monitoring the situation, Dom instructed, and double the security on the children until further notice. That night, after the children were asleep, Dom received another text from Vanessa. I heard about Brendan. Was that you? He didn't reply. Some questions didn't deserve answers. The next morning, as Dom dropped the children at school, the principal approached him. Mr. Reed, a moment please? Dom followed her to her office, instantly alert. We had an incident yesterday afternoon, she explained. A man matching Mr. Willis's description was spotted photographing the playground during recess. Security approached him, but he left before they could question him. Ice filled Dom's veins. This was yesterday? Before his accident? Yes, around 2 p.m. Dom thanked her for the information and immediately called Clayton. Willis was at the school yesterday, before the Callahans paid him a visit. Christ, Clayton muttered. You think he was serious about the threats? I think we need to finish this, Dom replied. Permanently. There was a long pause. Dom, I've followed you into war zones. You know I'm with you whatever happens. But are you sure about this? There's no coming back from some decisions. Dom thought of Liam's face as he read his letter in court. Of Addie asking when the bad things would be over. Of the photographs Willis had taken, planning God knows what. I've never been more certain of anything, he answered. Set up the meeting. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. The warehouse on the outskirts of South Boston had once been a textile factory before industry abandoned the area. Now it stood isolated and forgotten, perfect for conversations that needed privacy. Dom arrived first, as was his habit, securing the perimeter and establishing exit routes. Clayton accompanied him, along with 2 trusted operatives from RSS positioned outside as lookouts. Sean Callahan arrived 20 minutes later with 3 associates. The Irish mobster looked incongruous in his tailored suit amid the dusty abandonment of the warehouse. Mr. Reed, he greeted with formal cordiality. I understand our mutual associate has become a larger problem than anticipated. Dom nodded. He threatened my children. Callahan's expression darkened. There are lines even in our business. Family is sacred. He gestured to one of his men, who brought forward a laptop. We've been monitoring Willis since our discussion with him. He's made some concerning purchases. The laptop displayed screenshots of Willis's recent transactions, a high-powered telephoto lens, a used car purchased with cash through a third party, and a hunting knife. He's also been researching your security company, Callahan continued, trying to identify vulnerabilities. What's your assessment? Dom asked. He's planning something desperate. Our conversation may have accelerated his timeline, but it didn't change his intentions. Dom studied the evidence, his military training automatically calculating threat assessments. He's targeting the children to get to me and Vanessa. That would be my reading, Callahan agreed. The question is, what do you want to do about it? Dom met the older man's gaze. I want a permanent solution. Callahan nodded slowly. Understood. But there are complications. Willis called in a marker of his own, an old boxing associate with connections to law enforcement. They're watching him, which means they'd watch us. Dom considered this. Then we need to make him come to us. On our terms, in a controlled environment. And how do you propose to do that? With the one thing he wants more than revenge, money. The plan came together over the next hour. Callahan's resources, combined with Dom's strategic expertise, created a trap that would remove Willis as a threat permanently while maintaining plausible deniability for all involved. As they finalized the details, Callahan regarded Dom with newfound respect. You know, in another life, you could have run an organization like mine. Dom shook his head. I have different priorities. Your children, Callahan nodded. Family first. That's something we agree on. 3 days later, Brendan Willis, still bruised but mobile, received an anonymous text with an account number and password. When he accessed the account, he found a transaction history showing payments from Vanessa that had been hidden from the divorce proceedings. The account contained $175,000 with a pending transfer set to empty it in 48 hours. The accompanying message was simple. Emergency Fund V set up for us. Password is where we first met. Need to access before automatic transfer on Wednesday. Meet tomorrow night for details. The location specified was an abandoned construction site where a luxury hotel project had stalled due to financing issues. The half-finished structure offered multiple access points, limited visibility from surrounding areas, and no functioning security cameras. Dom arrived 3 hours early, methodically preparing the site. Clayton and 4 other RSS operatives took positions at strategic points, maintaining radio silence except for predetermined check-ins. Vanessa, despite her initial reluctance, had agreed to play her part. Dom had explained just enough of the plan for her to understand the stakes. He threatened our children. Dom had reminded her. Whatever happens tonight ensures they'll be safe. Vanessa had nodded, fear and resolve mingling in her expression. Just tell me what to do. Now she waited in her car 2 blocks away, ready to make a brief, carefully orchestrated appearance before being escorted to safety by one of Dom's operatives. At precisely 10 p.m., Willis's borrowed Honda pulled into the construction site. He moved cautiously, his recent injuries evident in his halting gait. Dom watched through a thermal scope as Willis checked obvious hiding spots, his boxing background making him more security conscious than the average civilian. Satisfied he was alone, Willis pulled out his phone and sent a text. 2 minutes later, Vanessa's car appeared at the perimeter of the site. She remained inside, engine running, exactly as instructed. Willis approached her car, and they exchanged words through the partially lowered window. Though Dom couldn't hear the conversation, he could see Willis's growing agitation through the scope. Vanessa handed him a printed paper, account details with a false password, then quickly drove away as planned. The moment Vanessa cleared the perimeter, Dom activated the next phase. The construction site's temporary generator failed, plunging the area into darkness. Willis froze, instantly alert to the threat. "Vanessa," he called out, reaching inside his jacket where Dom knew he carried the recently purchased hunting knife. "She's gone," Dom replied, his voice echoing slightly through the unfinished structure. "It's just you and me now." Willis spun, trying to locate the source of the voice. "Reed? What the hell is this?" "This is a reckoning." Dom moved silently to a new position, his military training allowing him to navigate the darkness with precision. "You threatened my children, Brendan. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Willis protested, still turning frantically. "I came here to meet Vanessa about the account." "The account doesn't exist. Neither does the money. But the photographs you took at my children's school? Those were very real." Willis's breath quickened. "This is entrapment. I've got people watching me, law enforcement." "Your boxing friend?" Dom interrupted. "Officer Daniels. He's currently responding to a domestic disturbance across town. Very unfortunate timing." Fear finally entered Willis's voice. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to understand something." Dom moved again, circling closer. "Some men can be threatened. Some can be bought. Some can be reasoned with. I am none of those men. Not when it comes to my family." Willis lashed out blindly with the knife, slicing through empty air. "Stay back. I swear I'll." "You'll what?" Dom was suddenly directly behind him. "You'll hurt me? Like you planned to hurt my children?" Willis whirled, knife extended, but Dom was ready. He blocked the arm, twisted, and dislocated Willis's shoulder with a sickening pop. The knife clattered to the concrete floor as Willis howled in pain. Dom kicked the weapon away, then circled his opponent. "You know the interesting thing about construction sites, Brendan? So many accidents happen, especially when unstable individuals with gambling debts and violent histories trespass after hours." "You're going to kill me," Willis gasped, clutching his useless arm. "No." Dom shook his head. "I'm going to give you a choice." He detailed the terms. Willis would sign a videotaped confession admitting to threatening the Reed children, attempting to extort money from Vanessa, and planning violence against the family. The confession would be held in escrow by attorneys Dom trusted implicitly. Willis would then leave the state permanently. A one-way ticket to Arizona was already purchased in his name. "If you ever return to Vermont, if you ever contact Vanessa or anyone connected to my family, if you so much as search our names online, the confession goes to police, Vanessa's attorney, and the judge overseeing our custody arrangement. Your boxing friend won't be able to help you then." Willis, sweating and pale with pain, glared up at Dom. "And if I refuse?" Dom smiled coldly. Then we moved to Plan B. Mr. Callahan has a construction company that's breaking ground on a new project next month. The foundation will be poured here, right where we're standing. You can imagine the rest. The threat hung in the air between them. Willis searched Dom's face for any sign of bluff or hesitation and found none. "You're a psychopath," he whispered. "No," Dom countered. "I'm a father protecting his family. There's nothing I wouldn't do to keep them safe." He checked his watch. "You have 30 seconds to decide." In the end, Willis chose self-preservation. The confession was recorded, the documents signed. By dawn, he was on a plane to Phoenix with explicit instructions never to return. As Dom watched the flight confirmation appear on his phone, Clayton approached. "It's done," Dom said simply. Clayton nodded. Was it worth it? Dom thought of the children sleeping safely at home, unaware of the night's events. "Ask me that in 20 years. As they prepared to leave, Dom's phone rang. It was Vanessa. "Is it over?" she asked without preamble. "Yes. He won't bother us again." A long pause. "What did you do to him?" "Nothing he didn't deserve." Dom wouldn't share details, even with her. "The important thing is the children are safe." "Thank you," she whispered. "I know you didn't do it for me, but thank you." Dom ended the call without responding. Some debts couldn't be repaid with gratitude. Chapter 9. Unforgiving Skies. 5 years passed like the turning of seasons, inexorable, transformative. Liam grew into a thoughtful 12-year-old with Dom's analytical mind and unexpected artistic talents inherited from his mother. Addie, now 10, developed into a confident, athletic girl whose competitive spirit reminded Dom of himself at that age. Reed Security Solutions had expanded across New England, Dom's reputation for thoroughness and discretion attracting high-profile clients nationwide. The company now employed over 100 people, including Clayton as Dom's official partner. Vanessa had gradually earned increased visitation rights, eventually achieving the unsupervised weekends specified in their custody agreement. She had returned to art, finding modest success with gallery showings in Burlington. She dated occasionally, but never seemed to form lasting relationships. Brendan Willis remained in Arizona, monitored periodically through Dom's extensive network. He had found work as a personal trainer, seemingly learning from his past mistakes. Dom maintained the surveillance nonetheless, trust being a luxury he no longer afforded to those who had once betrayed him. Life had found a new rhythm, a careful balance that prioritized the children's well-being above lingering resentments. Dom had dated occasionally, a pediatrician named Marie for several months, later a security consultant who understood his demanding schedule, but never allowed anyone to integrate fully into his family life. Then came the call that disrupted the carefully constructed equilibrium. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Vanessa phoned, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Dom, I need to talk to you. In person, if possible." They met at a cafe halfway between their homes, neutral territory where they occasionally discussed parenting matters. Vanessa looked well. Her art career had brought new confidence, and she'd maintained the healthier lifestyle she'd adopted after the divorce. But today, anxiety shadowed her features. "I've been offered an artist residency," she said after they'd ordered coffee. "In Barcelona. It's a tremendous opportunity, a year working with some of Europe's most respected contemporary artists." Dom absorbed this. "Congratulations. When do you leave?" "That's what I wanted to discuss." She twisted her napkin nervously. "It's a family residency program. They provide accommodations and schooling for children of selected artists." Understanding dawned. "You want to take Liam and Addie to Spain for a year. It would be an incredible experience for them. International schooling, cultural immersion." "No." Dom's response was immediate, definitive. Vanessa had clearly anticipated this. "Dom, please consider it. This isn't like before. I'm not trying to take them from you. It's one academic year. You could visit any time. They'd video chat with you daily. The custody agreement is clear, Vanessa. The children's primary residence is with me. Agreements can be temporarily modified for extraordinary circumstances." She leaned forward. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not just for me, but for them too." Dom studied her, searching for hidden motives and finding none. "Have you discussed this with them?" "No. I wanted to talk to you first." He nodded, acknowledging the respect this demonstrated. "I'll consider it, but I make no promises." That evening, Dom researched the residency program extensively. It was legitimate and prestigious. The educational component was solid, affiliated with an international school of excellent reputation. The accommodations were in a safe, family-friendly district. Yet something kept him from embracing the idea, something beyond the practical concerns of distance and disruption. He found Liam in the backyard observatory Dom had built for his 11th birthday, charting stars with methodical precision. "Dad," Liam greeted without looking up from his telescope. "Saturn's rings are particularly clear tonight." Dom smiled. "Mind if I join you?" They spent an hour identifying constellations before Dom broached the subject. "Your mom mentioned an opportunity today. An artist residency in Barcelona." Liam adjusted his telescope slightly. "For her paintings? That sounds cool. The program includes families. You and Addie would go with her for a year." Liam's hands stilled on the telescope. "Leave Vermont." "Leave you? It would be temporary. You'd still see me through visits and video calls." Liam turned to face his father, his expression serious beyond his years. "What do you think about it?" Dom considered his answer carefully. "I think it's an educational opportunity with advantages. I also think it would significantly change our current arrangement." "You don't want us to go?" It wasn't a question. "My preferences aren't the only consideration here, Liam. This is about what's best for you and your sister." Liam returned to his telescope, making minute adjustments. "Remember when you taught me about stars dying?" he asked suddenly. Dom nodded, unsure where this was leading. "You said even when stars die, their light keeps traveling. Sometimes for years." Liam looked up from the eyepiece. "Mom left us once. I know it was complicated and adult and not something I'm supposed to understand yet. But she left, and now she wants us to leave with her." "It wouldn't be the same situation," Dom clarified. "This is professional, not personal." "Maybe," Liam shrugged. "But I don't want to go. I like my school, my friends, my observatory." He gestured to the small domed structure. "And I don't want to be away from you for that long." Dom rested a hand on his son's shoulder, neither encouraging nor discouraging his position. "Think about it for a few days. Talk to your sister. This isn't a decision we need to make immediately." Addie's reaction the following day was more emotional. At 10, her understanding of the past was less complete than Liam's, filtered through a younger child's limited perspective. "Why can't you come too?" she demanded, frowning at the unfairness of adult arrangements. "My work is here," Dom explained gently, "and this opportunity is specifically for your mom. But we'd be so far away. What if something happens?" Dom recognized her fear, the same anxiety that had plagued her after the divorce, when changes had seemed overwhelming and threatening. "Nothing bad would happen," he assured her. "And if you needed me, I would be there, no matter what." Later that week, Dom arranged a family dinner with Vanessa to discuss the proposal together. The children presented their thoughts. Liam's measured reluctance and Addie's torn excitement mingled with apprehension. "Barcelona has the best science museum in Europe," Vanessa pointed out to Liam. "And the food, Addie. You'd love the pastries and the seafood." The children listened politely, but without enthusiasm. After they were excused, Vanessa turned to Dom. "They're letting you influence them," she accused quietly. "I've been careful not to," Dom replied. "Unlike you, who's shown them brochures and videos of Barcelona before our agreed family discussion." Vanessa had the grace to look embarrassed. "I was trying to help them visualize the opportunity. You were trying to sway them." She sighed. "Maybe a little. But Dom, they need to stretch their wings. Experience more than just Vermont. We travel," he pointed out. "National parks every summer. Washington, D.C. last year. The Space Center in Florida. Carefully controlled environments with itineraries you plan to the minute," she countered. "This would be different. Immersive." Dom studied her, understanding dawning. "This isn't just about the residency, is it? You've been planning something longer term." Vanessa looked away, confirming his suspicion. "There's an arts collective in Barcelona. They've offered me a permanent teaching position starting after the residency. I'd have studio space, exhibitions throughout Europe. And you want the children with you." "They're my children too, Dom. I've worked so hard these past 5 years to be a better mother, to rebuild their trust. Is it so wrong to want them with me?" Dom felt a familiar coldness settling in his chest, the same sensation he'd experienced when he first discovered her betrayal years ago. "So this residency is just the foot in the door. The real plan is relocation. Not necessarily permanent," she argued. "Maybe a few years. They'd spend summers with you. Holidays. It could work." "No." The single syllable hung between them, definitive and unyielding. Dom, please. No, Vanessa. You lost the right to make unilateral decisions about our children when you plotted to take them from me the first time. When you told Brendan I wasn't fit to be a father. When you chose him over them. Her face paled. That was years ago. I've changed. I've proven myself. And I acknowledge that. It's why you have unsupervised visitation now. But asking for my children to move to another continent? After what happened before? That's not happening. Our children, she corrected, anger flaring. And this isn't like before. There's no hidden agenda. Dom raised an eyebrow. Except for the permanent position you just admitted to, which I was going to discuss once we'd made the residency decision, she insisted. The answer is no to both. File a motion with the court if you want to challenge it. Vanessa studied him, searching for flexibility and finding none. You've never forgiven me, have you? Not really. I've moved forward, Dom corrected. That's different from forgiveness. The children will resent you for this someday, she warned. For keeping them from opportunities. I'm keeping them safe and stable. If that earns their resentment, I'll accept it. They parted that evening with the matter unresolved, but Dom's position remained firm. The following week, Vanessa filed a motion requesting temporary modification of the custody agreement to accommodate the residency program. The case went before Judge Maxwell, now nearing retirement, but still on the family court bench. The judge remembered the Reed case well. Mrs. Reed, he addressed Vanessa after hearing both arguments. While I acknowledge your improved parenting and commitment to the current arrangement, I must consider the children's best interests above all else. Disrupting their education, social connections, and time with their primary custodial parent for a year represents a significant change that must be justified by extraordinary benefit. The cultural and educational opportunities, Vanessa began, can largely be achieved through shorter trips and local programming, Maxwell finished. Furthermore, the court has concerns about your disclosed intent to potentially extend this arrangement into a multi-year relocation. Vanessa shot an accusatory glance at Dom, who remained impassive. Mr. Reed did not bring this to the court's attention, Maxwell clarified, noting her reaction. You disclosed it yourself in your supporting documentation, perhaps not realizing its implications. The judge denied the motion, advising Vanessa that she was free to pursue the residency individually if she wished, with appropriate arrangements for maintaining her visitation schedule upon her return. Outside the courthouse, Vanessa confronted Dom. You knew this would happen. You knew Maxwell would side with you. I knew he would apply the same standards he always has, the children's stability and best interests. This was their chance to experience something extraordinary, she argued, tears of frustration gathering. Something neither of us had growing up. They have extraordinary experiences, Vanessa. They have love, security, consistency. That's more valuable than a year in Barcelona. She studied him, a realization dawning. You're punishing me. Still, after all this time. Dom shook his head. This isn't about punishment. It's about protection. From what? From me? I'm their mother. Yes, the mother who once told me I wasn't fit to be their father, who planned to take them away forever, who put her own desires above their well-being. Dom's voice remained calm, factual. I acknowledge you've changed. I respect the efforts you've made. But trust, once broken, is never fully restored. So that's it. I'll never be forgiven, never be trusted with my own children. Dom considered her question. Not in the way you want. Not completely. Tears spilled down Vanessa's cheeks. You're a hard man, Dominic Reed. Only with those who've proven they need hardness, he replied. The children will always know I love them and will protect them, no matter what, no matter from whom. That's the only certainty I can offer in this world. Vanessa accepted the residency without the children, arranging for intensive visits before her departure and regular video calls during her absence. Dom facilitated these connections, recognizing their importance while maintaining his boundaries. On her last night before leaving for Spain, Vanessa had dinner with the children at Dom's house, a concession he made to ease their transition. After the children went to bed, she lingered in the foyer, looking around at the home they had once shared. A part of me will always love you, she admitted softly. The man I thought you were, at least. Dom regarded her without animosity, but without warmth. I was always this man, Vanessa. You just didn't want to see it. Will you ever forgive me? Truly forgive me? Dom considered the question. What would forgiveness change? Would it erase what happened? Would it make me forget the lessons I learned? It might bring you peace, she suggested. I have peace, he countered. I have my children, safe and thriving. I have a life built on clarity rather than illusion. Forgiveness is irrelevant to that. Vanessa nodded slowly, accepting the finality in his words. Take care of them, Dom. Always. After she left, Dom stood on the back deck, gazing at the observatory where Liam spent so many evenings. His son joined him moments later, wrapped in a sweatshirt against the autumn chill. Mom's really going tomorrow, Liam said, not a question but a statement of fact. Yes, but she'll call often, and you'll visit during school breaks if you want. Liam nodded. Dad, are you sad she's leaving? Dom considered the question with the honesty he always offered his children. No, but I'm sad you and Addie are sad. I'm not that sad, Liam admitted. Is that bad? That I'm not more upset? Dom placed an arm around his son's shoulders. Feelings aren't right or wrong, Liam. They just are. They stood in companionable silence, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. Finally, Liam asked the question Dom had been expecting for years. Why couldn't you forgive Mom? After all this time? Dom chose his words carefully. Some betrayals change who we are fundamentally. They force us to see truths we can't unsee. Your mother's choices showed me who she really was, and who I needed to be to protect what matters most. Us, Liam said simply. Always. Liam considered this. The stars we're seeing now, he mused. Some of them might already be dead. Their light is just reaching us from the past. That's true. Maybe forgiveness is like that, Liam suggested. Something that exists in the past but can't change the present. Dom looked at his son with pride and a touch of wonder at his wisdom. When did you get so philosophical? Liam shrugged. I had a good teacher. As they turned to go inside, Dom glanced once more at the night sky, vast, beautiful, and utterly unforgiving in its cosmic laws. Some forces couldn't be negotiated with or softened by time. Some boundaries, once crossed, could never be uncrossed. He had learned that lesson well, and he would never forget it. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.